is a robot monk, and he is very zen. And I like to think of myself as a pretty chill guy, but I'm definitely not that chill. And I would like to be a little more like that. So especially when I'm in traffic in LA, because Zenyatta would never give in with the finger. So yeah, I would love to be a little more like Zenyatta, striving to be.
I think besides the obvious things like we get to be involved in an amazing game. This has helped my voice acting career. I do a lot more animation work now in LA. The obvious things, I think that it's also it's given us an opportunity to see how video games affect people. I'm not a gamer myself. I grew up playing outdoors, and so I used to think games were just games, and now I realize that they have a far bigger reach in affecting people positively in life than I ever imagined. And so that's been just a huge take back for me, and then also the fact that people think they were our characters. I'd love to be as badass as Somra, but it does, like Mr. Black Power Ranger was saying, it makes us work harder to be our better selves because our characters are that, and people expect that, and it's a wonderful bar to try to reach.
Well, sure, I was going to say, so Walter and Carolina both sort of repeated the things that I was thinking. Farah is a fighter for justice with mother issues, and I am fortunate enough to have my mother with me, so my issues were not as prevalent, so that was lucky. But I'm really inspired by how righteous and tough Farah is, while being very generous and genuine. And I try to put that into my own life, obviously. And I get tremendous street cred with my son's friends now. And that's definitely changed my life. And my nieces too, they're very big fans, so I feel fortunate.
Next question.
Symmetra for me is just a constant reminder not to let the circumstances of your life, whether your upbringing or your past or the things that you consider to be personal obstacles, to keep you from trying to be the best you can under all of those circumstances, because it's really easy for us, and certainly, for every person, I think, to look at the things about their life that make them think they can't. But I feel like she never did that, and there were a lot of reasons for her to think she couldn't. And so it's a constant reminder to me not to let anything get in the way, just let it be, more stuff that you put in the milkshake of my life is awesome, rather than something that you think is going to keep you from doing it. It's the unique thing that makes you you, that gives you the path that you are supposed to take. So.
Any more questions? Yes, we do have. We're really interested in you guys. So, please, next question.
Hi, Ross Del Rosario from Wazzup, Pilipinas. What's up? What's up, guys? Question. I'm sure you have a lot of fans. It's very obvious, but there might be a time that you had some bashers. How did you handle it? Somebody that didn't like your work, didn't like your...
So because Farah is a very difficult character to play, I get very polarizing responses. I've had people come up to me and go, "You are the bane of my existence." And that's very overwhelming, as well as people who are great fans of it. But I've never been personally bashed for my Farah-ness, so that's fortunate. But Farah, again, she's got some haters, definitely.
The character. The character and not you.
Yeah, no, thankfully. Not me, the character, thankfully.
I think for the haters, for the most part, we try and ignore it, or I kill with kindness and just say, "Thanks for the love!" You can't really engage with that because we're trying to put out positivity, and we don't have time for that stuff.
Okay. Anybody else?
I do think one thing, because we do engage with a lot of the community online, sometimes someone will put something out there that is oddly personal and oddly cruel for no apparent reason, and when that happens, I think it's sometimes a good chance to respond and let that person know there's an actual human being on the other side of that exchange, because in today's day and age, a lot of people will just put something out there from the comfort of their own computers or their own phones, and won't recognize that that has an effect on someone somewhere. Whether I care about it one way or the other. Sometimes I like engaging and saying something like, cool, let's have a conversation about that. And then the person kind of backtracks, not realizing that they put that out there not in a vacuum. And so there are the haters of the character, and then I'm like, great, there are 26 other characters that you can kill my character with. Go to town. Okay. But when it comes to something personal, I think it's a nice opportunity to remind people that their words have meaning and they have power both to hurt and to help. And so it's a good time to just say something just to let them know there's a person back there.
Okay, thank you. How about anybody else?
To add on that, yeah, I had an incident on social media where I think teenagers, it's cathartic on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and so I usually don't respond to things that aren't true, but I think there comes a time when if you do feel personally attacked, you can, like, you know, she was saying that you can set out sort of an objective statement that starts a conversation for themselves more than me having a conversation with an actual person. So I think I did that once in the history of Instagram. In 7 years, the show began, ironically, the same time Instagram was, it started online. So we kind of grew up together. And there was one time that I just said, you know, here's what I have to say about that. And it's a telephone game, I think, with teenagers. So if one person says something and it spreads like wildfire. And so I think there's no issue in, if it's kind of opening up a can of worms, I can see what they would think that, but at the same time, I think there's no harm in saying, actually, this is the truth, period. And there's nothing wrong with that, to stand up for yourself.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, the Black Ranger.
You know, social media has become a thing of the world, and the reality is you can't please everybody, and there's also the reality that some people say things just to get attention to themselves, because not all bad publicity is bad publicity. It's good publicity. So sometimes people say things that are negative, and I tend to generally choose to ignore it personally. I don't know that I get personally attacked very often, because most of my fans are positive and along the positive lines, and often if somebody does have something to say that's negative, then the fans will stand up to them and go, hey, you know, you need to go away or whatever, because this is something that's positive. But, you know, like again, you can't please everybody all the time, so everybody has an opinion, and everybody's entitled to speak their mind. Words are powerful. That's something people need to know, and you make the best of it.
And how about the two? No response? No haters? No bashers?
Oh, yeah, I'm all embracing.
Everyone loves you?
Absolutely.
How about Dakri?
My mother sometimes.
Okay, how about Dakri?
I've actually been thinking the whole time about how to answer this. I grew up a pretty big kid. I was a pretty chubby kid, and I got bullied and I got picked on all the way through school.
Oh.
And my first role out of drama school was actually being a Power Ranger.
Oh, really?
So,
Oh, that's a good
looking
trivia.
up to this one through my younger years and then kind of embodying that in the movie was a pretty special opportunity. But after the movie came out, there was an amazing response from people, like I think we've already got into, about, you know, I looked up to you, or I look up to you. There's lots of pressure in that, I think. And being bullied in school, I think it gives you an interesting insight into these people that are lashing out, or, you know, it happens all the time in public or whatever, people that have sort of are interested in antagonizing you. And I think from coming from that end of the lens in school, being picked on, I sort of, I don't know how to word it. What am I trying to
say?
I feel like a lot of those people are misunderstood. And I think having a job like this, where you sort of lose your anonymity fairly quickly recently, I can sort of understand, and I think I have a lot more patience for, you know, people who lash out, and it's like, well, hey, why? You know, where are you coming from here? And rather than lashing back, whether it's on social media, I don't really get involved in social media. I wasn't going to make a comment on that, but you know, in life. I feel like as well, since Stranger Things came out, everyone thinks they want to fight me in every single bar that I go to. I have to quickly try and explain that I'm not that human being from the show, but it's interesting. And then before that, everyone wants to fight me because I'm the Power Ranger, and I can. So everyone wants to fight me. No, there's lots of love, and I've been, and I am very grateful for all of the responses. But I think that, yeah, there's always more to the story than just lashing out. I think even behind the anonymity of a computer, you know, having that sort of screen, I think there is still more going on. And I try and process that to protect myself more than anything, and sort of go, well, this person's coming from somewhere and they've got a background and a reason why they're coming at me like that, whether it's physical or verbal. But lots of pros. To answer the earlier question, yeah, there's lots of pros in this industry, and very, very lucky to see the world. I'm only 23 and I feel like I've been given a lot of amazing opportunities, and there's always stuff that comes with that, responsibilities and sort of all sorts of things. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now we're down to our last question, please.
Hi, I'm Zen from the Philippine Inquirer, and my question would be for Baker. So, your personality is quite the opposite from Billy. How were you able to empathize with that kind of role, and how do you see him developing, and how would you like him to change in the next season?
I think there's two things about Billy that I went through with the Duffer Brothers, the creators, and one was humanizing the villain. I think the most effective villains in cinematic history are human, and exactly back to what I was talking about before. Everyone has a reason for where they're coming from. So for me, it was more about humanizing Billy and making you really sort of on his side, I guess, throughout the season. In terms of finding a person that holds that role in my life, I think just looking around at people growing up, the bullies in the schoolyard, and some of their mannerisms towards me and how they acted and behaved towards me, but then sort of looking deeper and trying to unveil the mask of what are the insecurities behind somebody like that. What do they go home to at the end of the school day? What are their parents like? What are their role models like? And that's where the discussion with the Duffers came in about Billy's father. The trickle-down effect, I think, from the family has. We are products of our family, always. You know, you were talking before about your mum over there in the corner, you had an amazing mother, and how it's the opposite of your character.
No,
Yeah.
my character has an awesome mother as well.
Oh,
She
shit,
just has
okay.
issues.
I apologize. Yeah, but just that whole thing. I have a very supportive mother. So my experience, my home life experience, I think was different from a lot of those characters growing up. So I try to create a fictional version of Billy's home life that I didn't experience, because I was very lucky growing up as a child. And yeah, there's a whole range of things, but I think exploring behind the mask of just nobody's bad just because they're bad, you know, that's not a thing. There's always more to it. And because there's no supernatural element involved with Billy in the second season, it is human. It's innately human. Everything that he is a combination of how he appears at 17 years old. It's of his upbringing, I think, rather. So, yeah, there was a lot of work that had to be done there. But just finding insecurities. I have my own insecurities that bring out bad sides of me at certain times in my life. So doing some self-analysis, I think, of my upbringing and how I act and how I respond to situations, and then maybe expanding on that for Billy.
The second part of my question was, how would you like him to develop or change in the next season?
The next season, I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about this. Just that I think that audiences can see or gather more insight into why he is the way he is, exactly what I'm touching on, about his insecurities. And, I think I'd like to see Billy with a girl, you know. There's something interesting about bringing romance into an antagonist world, or what we perceive him to just be truly antagonistic. So that would be interesting, a love interest, you know. Show a different dynamic. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that wraps up our